When I first met Dr. Mark Goffney 4 years ago, I was deeply committed to working with women, teaching and leading workshops, particularly in the area of sexual trauma and abuse. Helping others heal their sexual wounding had become a deep passion and a calling for me as a way to continue my own lifelong journey towards healing from the trauma of sexual abuse when I was a young child. Years of trying traditional Western psychotherapeutic methods didn't get to the root of the pain. I traveled the world, experiencing all kinds of healing techniques in hope of finding the silver bullet that would help me feel my wholeness. Many of these experiences had blessed, graced, and helped me on profound levels, providing me with deep insights into the grand healing puzzle, and yet they didn't take me all the way there. Then I met Mark Goffney while participating in his workshop, The Journey of Love. During the weekend, I experienced Dr. Goffney's teaching as a living transmission, resonating profound truths that pierced my being in a uniquely potent way. As he completed the teaching on Saturday afternoon, I began to feel a strange surge of energy rush through my body. I sat up against the wall, closed my eyes, and felt my body suddenly lurch forward. I found myself lying flat on the floor, having a full-body Shekinah experience, and Shekinah is the feminine Hebrew name of God. Intense waves of powerful Shakti coursed through my body. The energy of the transmission had, with great force, entered me, and the only way I can describe it is that it began to break me open and profoundly and ecstatically love me open from the inside out. The only thing I could do was surrender and let it move through me. After the energy receded, I felt deep peace and had a profound awareness that I was a part of everything and everyone, and in my mind I heard the words, "This is a path of living with an open heart." For the first time, I knew through my body what it meant to be totally, wildly loved by love itself. Through Mark's dharmic transmission, I experienced an embodied awakening, an indescribable inner journey, an encounter with divine love that I now know to be a transmission of outrageous love. Thanks to Mark's profound gift, I was at least able to feel my wholeness and finally come home. In my experience, Mark's work with the love intelligence of radical wholeness, which some call the goddess, connects human consciousness to the consciousness of the divine and initiates an evolutionary process, one that opens people up to new ways of being that allows them to express their greatest gifts and unique potential. The energy he anchors and transmits opens and aligns people to the presence of the one heart, the divine heart, bringing with it radical healing and transformation. Mark, however, is careful not to claim ownership of this potent force of wholeness and has taught me how to embody it as a part of my person and power. I now gratefully embody this transmission and am able to pass it on to my students and others, and they to their students. The experience of this energy, which is filled with what Plato called eros, is the same that has been recorded by many great mystics, poets, and sages who learned to tap into it to produce spiritual power and enlighten consciousness. Wilhelm Reich considered life energy and eros to be one and the same, and many physicists, evolutionary biologists, and psychologists are now pointing to the same conclusion. Mark has termed this evolutionary eros, citing his own teachers who say reality's insides are lined with love. The opening of this energy can easily be misunderstood, but Mark's whole point is that eros is not reducible to sex. The point of his profoundly religious and even conservative teaching is to experience the full force of eros, not merely in the sexual, but in all other dimensions of life. That is what Mark means when he says a person can be radically polyamorous and never touch eros, or be celibate or monogamous and live in full eros. In the 4 years I have known and worked with Mark, I have never known him to be anything other than totally honoring, deeply respectful, deeply loving, and deeply committed to my own and others' absolute empowerment and to the emergence of my and their unique gifts. With my own history, I am particularly sensitive to abusive energy, and I have never witnessed or experienced abusive behavior of any kind. I have experienced him as a man tirelessly devoted to the evolution of people and to the evolution of love itself. He is a man who truly walks the radical path of an outrageous lover. His out-of-the-box ideas may perturb those who cannot accept his way of being because it conflicts with their conditioning. And his larger-than-life, in-your-face, audacious, unashamed, and unabashed presence may make some feel small or inadequate. But to project that smallness or contraction on Mark is a tragic mistake. It is my observation, through my experiences with teachers the world over, that when, like Mark, they hold enormous amounts of transformative energy, shadow often gets triggered in other people. It takes an incredible amount of awareness to take on the fallout from other people's negative shadow projections. I know this from my own personal shadow work and my work as a Reichian therapist, where we consider the emergence of a client's deep shadow as the place where the work of healing truly begins. As a teacher, Mark can be rigorous and uncompromising in his efforts to help you shed your skin-encapsulated ego, to find the ultimate expression of love that is you. Mark creates a portal to step into one's fullness and distinct expression of the divine. Through my work with Mark, I have walked through that portal and discovered and claimed extraordinary things within myself. We are entering a new era of reunion with the bliss and ecstasy of our highest being. New frontiers of consciousness are opening, and many of us are beginning to realize and embody these kinds of direct experiences of becoming extraordinary by reclaiming our divinity. For the first time, we are walking up to a conscious space where eros and ethos meet, what Mark calls a higher wholeness, a place experienced and described in the past by a select few. This new consciousness is already here. It is the consciousness of connection, of listening to all sides, of being open to dialogue, of opening to radical healing, of truly living with an open heart and holding all of it, including and especially the shadow, with outrageous love. This is what Mark stands for and calls us to. We are being called to create a new reality, a new story, an outrageous love story that speaks and is written in the language of the soul, of the heart, in the language of outrageous love, not the old story of duality and separation. It is up to all of us to make it real. Dr. Kristina Kincaid.